correctly.
Oh, yes.
So this is just to kind of correct the process and have everything flow through like it's supposed to. We also got written up by the audit in 2022 for not having a separate fund for this type of activity.
So we're correcting that.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it was something that we had, the awesome rules.
We're gonna increase or decrease or not?
No, just for accounting purposes, which, you know, as I said.
More transparency of what the health fund is really spending.
Exactly, yeah. So within that fund, you're gonna see all the, you know, the accounts are for like detailed activity. So like, depending on the account number, you'll be able to tell if it's a distribution or receipt or whatever. Right now, we're not using accounts like we should for this type of activities. We just gain the accounting, so it's correct. You guys want to learn more about the accounting line? I'm always passionate about this.
We have Scott.
He's not as cool as me. So.
Have this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'll admit it. I won't pretend I have.
Yeah.
I don't aspire to have one either.
I'm good.
Any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Recorder? I'm here for the recorder's office.
This is, she asked us to change the part-time pay rate ordinance, from, a range of 10 to 15 to 15 to 20.
And she has funds in her current part-time line item.
Yeah, either perpetuation, yes.
So the last amendment that we talked about that and I was okay with it. The last amendment I looked at, she made another change. 20 to 25. And she did say she wasn't up in here, so I do have to. That's not what we discussed now.
Let us know on Tuesday. All right, anyone else have any questions on that? Superior Court still no? Morning.
You didn't see there, Joy. I was at time.
Good morning. We're here to ask for an additional appropriation for the ASIA grant. It's a self-funded grant through the Indiana Supreme Court. They normally give us $75,000 each year as a pass-through to Franciscan Alliance. And this year they must have found some extra money. That's 76. So,
Oh, wow.
I got you. Joy and I talked about this on the phone. That's it. It's the grant fund. Sitting there. What are you using?
yeah, they funded it through the Indiana Supreme Court, so it's not funded.
Do you know how many seniors are assisted with this?
I don't. Franciscan Alliance is the one that actually oversees the whole program. And then they send us an invoice and then twice a year we pay that. But I do think it's a very, very good program and I
Yeah.
wish that it was more expanded than it is. Because they just don't have the advocates that they need.
Everyone good? Any questions?
They gave Joy an extra $1,000. That's what her said.
Thank you. Thank you. Juvenile Court,
Good morning.
learning.
Number 8, appropriation. This is a 2-year grant for juvenile behavioral health, grant pilot. And this is with Dr. Curtis as the site. She does the psychiatric evaluations of all kids. It's a 2-year grant. Supplemental pay is $5,000. FICA deduction is $3,382.50. Per deduction $710. Contractual privilege is $86,400. For a total $3,292.50.
What position receives the supplemental pay?
It would be the bookkeeper. Report bills, stuff like that. That's what we have here. And B, juvenile behavioral. They're $5,000 in sum. C.
Yeah, go ahead. No, we can roll them all then.
And then C is the Lake County Juvenile Center's high juvenile court supplemental pay. That's a high-risk outreach program grant for the kids with minor gun charges. Again, this is also supplemental pay part of the financial enforcement bill. Number 9 is the transfer. of
Let me stop it. Okay, Jim. What happened? I know, but I'm asking you, the discussion we've had, what happens when those grants go away on the supplement?
Well, then everything potentially, even including the Dr. Curtis psychiatric evaluation. So with the 2-year grant, 2 years, and that's what I said to everybody when they did it. I said, well, what's the plan after 2 years? I think it's kind of up the air. That's because, but we're happy to have her for 2 years.
I've told you, have me in private conversation at home, how much I appreciate you, especially chasing these grants. Good job, but if they go away, it's not potentially,
I understand.
I won't carry it, okay?
I understand, so we'll all have to understand exactly that.
So how do you determine the supplemental pay? Is it a percentage of the grant? How do you determine that?
I don't personally determine that, usually the department will determine that, how much work's involved, and I'll have that conversation with you. And that's how we.
Can you get that answer for me?
I'll ask that.
Anyone have any questions?
An 8, no.
Number 9 is the CASA, it's a transfer from the county general fund to its office supplies. 500 travel registration, 500 travel lodging, 1,000 travel transfer, and other 500. To other equipment, 2,500. Business CASA they need a TV, portable TV card, and portable speakers with a mic for volunteer classes and other monthly meetings like that.
You're not gonna show yourself in any of those lines.
Not planning on it. No, I don't think there are any. They do a pretty good job of figuring out what they need.
So you're replacing an elder TV? I mean, an older
Yeah,
TV?
yeah.
If you work with Scott in regards to the supplementals in the general fund, any supplementals that you would have had in the general,
Work with them.
and assigning those duties, like, I think that at least Charlie and I were talking about it before. Assigning those duties to somebody, if it's coming out of 101, instead of just giving you an extra grand, you an extra 1,500.
So are you going to have a grant administrator like, so to speak?
No.
So typically,
Out of the general fund. I'm talking about assigning, if somebody's getting supplemental pay, $1,000. I'd rather see instead of it being supplemental in the general fund, give the person this $1,000 and remove the supplemental one.
But move something into,
Have each other send something nice to
you know,
yeah.
Oh, well, that would have been great.
Here you go.
But I don't know if a TV falls under crew cap, and have you checked with the commissioners for crew cap dollars?
no.
Instead of using juvenile court, I mean, instead of using the general fund money, but you can look at the cap perhaps. All right, anyone else have any other questions? Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Planning Commission? Morning.
Got an ordinance coming, ordinance amendment coming from the Plan Commission to include data centers as part of our UDO. Comes to you with a unanimous recommendation for approval from the Plan Commission by a vote of 700.
What does it do by adding it?
As a category so that when someone comes in and proposes a data center, we have a tool or we have
Yeah, it's a pretty detailed policy, really creates some very clear guardrails, some of those questions that have been brought up in other places where data centers are currently under construction or being considered. We're trying to answer those questions ahead of the process instead of getting into the middle of it and having all kinds of panic because something or one of the boxes didn't get checked. So that's what this policy is trying to be proactive in the process and make sure that when that attention comes on Lake County, which I suspect it will, we're ready for it.
And the ordinance was prepared by our consultant, the same one that did the UDO, the same one that helped with the battery storage facility. And unlike the solar ordinance, everyone on the plan commission and everyone that was talked to is in agreement. This is comprehensive. Like Randy says, answers a lot of the questions ahead of time before it comes to the plan commission and then ultimately you for a zone change. So it's a good thing, and you've had discussions with no less than 3 groups that are looking for areas to establish data centers in them. So I would appreciate it if you could acknowledge it and approve it Tuesday so that we have a way to get to entities that are coming in requesting this. It's intended to include under the data center definition, crypto mining, Bitcoin mining centers, things like that, and hyperscale data centers. So we have a tool to get them to where they need to be, but it's pretty detailed.
We have to do 2 readings on this one, or is this like?
We never have to do, I mean, we have.
Oh, we don't for the
Oh,
other.
this one is
ones.
different, yeah.
We don't change.
It's the UDO, yeah.
Since it's the overall planning ordinance. I'll look into
I
it.
don't have a.
I believe we do.
My gut feeling is yes, but I will check.
I don't have a legal degree, so I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey. Undistributed water expense, constant being like. Oh, it's highway.
Yes.
We're here asking for an additional appropriation for basically repair parts, fuel, and let's call it our cost for repair parts for the heavy equipment has escalated quite a bit. Where's the money coming from? We do have a surplus. When we submitted this at the end of June, the July deposits were not in. We had $1,161,000 balance in the budget. Normally, we have received $2.5 million in deposits through the end of June. This fund usually brings in $4.7 to $5 million a year. We're expecting at least another $2.3 million to $2.5 million. In addition, we had $360,000 in encumbrances from 23 and 24. I don't know if they were caught up in an audit, but they've been closed in the last 2 weeks. So that there is a sufficient surplus to cover the appropriation.
All right, any questions?
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Good morning. The sheriff's department is asking to move $145,568 out of the sheriff's sale program. And we want to use that money for 2 purposes. One is that we want to purchase 3 canines. One of those canines will be replacing a canine that's currently in service, retired. And then we're adding 2 additional canines. It'll give us a total of 12 canine units for the sheriff's department. And then $75,000 is part of a matching grant. That grant, we had applied to the COPS grant for safe schools. That allows us to create programs for every school, a preparedness emergency plan for every school that we're able to access in the event of emergency. Those particular schools will all work with their local police departments and fire departments to set up these plans. And that will also allow us to also purchase a mobile cellular tower. It's been our experience in the past, we have had a large event that the cellular towers get flooded and they're inoperable. This allows us to actually have a mobile cell tower that will allow phone calls, emergency phone calls to be made during any type of a disaster or crisis situation.
I had some questions about the addition of the canine, because there's an added expense, because there's an expense when the officer has the dog, right?
Yes,
How are you going to fund that?
those are paid through the commissary. It's not paid through any, it's paid through the fund. We don't go outside. It's not a budget line item or anything like that. That would include the medical care as well as the special fee.
Do I else have any questions?
With the the grant, is that, how many schools now are tied into the real-time crime center?
With the exception of 2 public school systems, every public school system in the county, we have MOUs with, and we're able to access our cameras. A couple of the school systems have chose not to do it at this point. Now the school year's starting again. We're in the process with one of the school systems changing over cameras. Part of it's a technology thing. Unfortunately, we have all these different public schools and they're all using different software. So that's a challenge, but we're addressing that. We're also now going out and we're offering the same to charter, parochial, and private schools as well. We have several of those that are also enrolled, where you can access their cameras as well.
Have you had an instance where the cell tower that feeds the Lake County 911 center, the technology has been overloaded by an emergency?
No, but we have, I know we talk about this a lot, but our last experience is a similar event. Would have been, we go back to Lake Central High School a couple years ago. It was, turned out not to be, but it was an active shooter incident. And we mentioned it, and because of the council, we were able to purchase radios that go on to the internet, because definitely that type of thing. Communications devices, and cellular tower coverage, especially as we get off main grid into the South County. There are cellular towers that are much better than it was even the last 5 years. Those are still spread out. They have limited capacity. Now, a lot of times law enforcement phones have priority over regular standard calls, but we just want to ensure for the entire county, because this will be mobile. We can take that anywhere in the county. We can make it available to anybody, including the Lake County Emergency Management, if they would have a need for it, where we can make sure that we're not going to have a problem with that cellular tower being able. And it has happened in other parts of the country. Don't want to get too historical, but I can tell you that I was a DE agent in Chicago, 9/11, and within 45 minutes, we had absolutely no cellular service up in the city of Chicago, and that was the city of Chicago. And as a result of that, obviously, that's been a while. Cellular tower coverage has increased, cellular equipment and capacity has increased, but this will allow us to have right at the scene that will allow everyone, that includes fire, EMS, police, will be able to ensure that their cellular phone will have a tower that's operating.
Could you send me an email explaining how that all works? Because if you're setting up a cell tower, wouldn't that just route all cell traffic through it, that tower, and we'd still end up with the same clogging problem? I just don't understand the mechanics of it.
Sure.
How it would allow for better use for public safety when, if it's a general cell tower, if you're accessing all of the,
We're not going to be accessing, it would be specifically limited to public safety agencies for that use.
your
We're not
cell
gonna
phone.
send this information.
Yeah, the frequencies, the channels, all that stuff, and I have to read that to understand it, but I'd love to be able to look at that. Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions?
The other item, which is under B, that was a,
Start.
we received that grant, and, that's for the Narcan and Central Back Grant Fund, so we'll be going. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Prosecutor? Good morning.
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 We are asking for a new fund for the grant that we received through Chairman Script.
Questions from anyone? Right, and then next month you'll do the appropriations and the line items.
Correct.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any corrections?
Morning, Council. It's great to see you today. So Community Corrections is seeking approval for 2 requests for the regular meeting this Tuesday. The first being our request to apply for the Legacy Foundation Team Building Grant. Now, the Legacy Foundation is a non-governmental local grant-giving agency, and the Team Building Grant is going to offer $2,000 to support community impact initiatives. Community Corrections plans to host a team building event that will recognize staff for their continued dedication during challenging times. This is as a result of a recent news that we've kind of received with a $7 million reduction to the Indiana Department of Corrections grant pool. So community corrections is anticipating, or has already received confirmation that we will be getting a 10% funding cut for the fiscal or calendar year of 26, and is working to absorb this impact without eliminating staff positions. This initiative is a good way to aim and boost morale and reinforce the team's resilience and professionalism. We believe it aligns well with the foundation's mission. And for the second item that we will be seeking approval for, it is an ordinance to establish a fund for the Legacy Foundation Team Building Grant, a non-reverting fund. And this is essentially, we're kind of proactively asking for this because it's my understanding that based on communication that our executive director has had with the Legacy Foundation directly, that we should anticipate receiving this award. So we are proactively, requesting fund establishment to receive the revenues and account for the expenditures with the grant.
Any questions, Pete?
Good.
When do you expect the funds?
Soon, pretty much. As soon as we, get this approval, we're gonna go ahead and launch the application. I've already kind of been told that there's been discussions about where to wire ACH, the funds. But I wanted to make sure we follow the appropriate procedures to get a fund established so that we can actually post those. The auditor's office has a place to post it once the treasurer's office.
Anyone else have a question?
Is this a grant that you look forward to trying to apply for every year? Or is it one time?
So these smaller grants, if there is a grant like this next year, we would, I would encourage our executive to apply for it. But yeah, I believe if this is a recurring grant year after year, that we would apply for this.
Thank you. Health Department?
Good morning.
Good morning, how you doing?
Yes.
You want to start with 1153?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just to transfer funds. We have seasonal employees that have been being paid out of this fund. However, through preparing for next year's budget, I noticed we didn't actually have a line item for that. So we wanted to create a line item for that, but plus also one for freight and shipping, because we are now shipping our water samples off to the Indiana Department of Health Laboratory to save some money and no longer using a local lab, which is much more expensive. So really just transferring that, I think it's $29,000 from our other equipment line item into those two.
I don't think Charlie's on. I don't have any issues with the request. Anyone have any questions?
And the next one is the renewal of our emergency preparedness grant, and then Rose will answer any questions you have about that.
That's a renewable invoiced grant from the state that we get every year. This year, it's gonna be $111,344. And it'll go from this July till June 26th.
Questions?
Thank you. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Commissioner. I don't see anyone online.
Morning.
Oh, good morning.
Get up on it.
Yeah, I saw you sneak in, sit right there, like at church. In the back.
In the back. Oh, I'm moving on more.
We look better blurred.
Don't get too close.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of the commissioners for their request for a transfer for matching funds from the seeded fund to the roads and bridges matching grant fund to meet our obligations for 2024 crossroads grant. Crossroads.
Any questions?
Only if Randy's name is on the page. Please, no. Good stuff.
Great, thanks, Ted.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the council, we have our non-binding review. Councilman Ham, are you,
Yeah,
take care of this for us?
Gave it to you today.
Okay, yes,
Schedule.
running it today. Common practice. And then, Councilman Niemeyer, you want to have a discussion on efficiency proposal with you and Scott.
Yeah, so I think it was back in 2019, the council created a government efficiency committee. I think it was Councilman Brown that was the original leader of that effort. Scott and I have been talking about some of the fine points of the presentation that I made on taxation, impacts of SCA 1, implementation of various policies and objectives. And in order, I think, to really kind of fully vet and develop those policies, we need to have really kind of a working group that's consistently focused on it, that is connected with, if you look through this proposal, the purposes and objectives, obviously cost cutting, expense shifting. We've talked about that, waste reduction, sustainability. Principles, methodology, scope is outlined. It also includes membership, and I think it's important for us to take a look at that. These would need to be advertised committee meetings, could be done in public. These are not secret behind the closed doors meetings. These would all be public. And we would need some participation, and the council to consider looking at possible requests for proposals from vendors who are specialized in that sort of overall government reform package financially that we need to make some of these things happen. So it's pretty comprehensive. I'd like the council to read through this, and the goal, the success metrics there at the end is achievement of a 20% budget reduction target measured against a 2026 baseline. And that number came up because if you look at property tax replacement credits, PTRC, it's about a 17% average credit on a property tax bill. And if we can reduce our dependency upon property tax levy by that much or a little more, it gives us the opportunity to maintain a reasonable portion of the overall levy in the county to where we're not blowing certain units of government over the tax caps come 2028. So this is going to be a very focused effort to reach some of those goals that will actually benefit the entire county. Should we reach some of those goals, it will give everybody a little more flexibility, shift our county business model over to more user fee where applicable, property tax where needed, and income tax where needed. So it'd be those three sources and just properly parceling out government into those sources.
Do you have any questions, comments?
We would have to hire somebody.
Well, listen, it's just a recommendation, Dave, but in lieu of, I mean, Scott is an expert at this stuff, right? And he would definitely be a part of that process. Dan, being your comptroller, would be a part of that process. But it's also good to get independent eyes on something this big, because I think in this case, we're going to probably be breaking with some traditions here. And unless we have a disconnect from the political part of this and just make it purely professional and business focused, sometimes they can get caught up in, well, I don't want to do that because I'm going to make somebody mad, right? Because whenever you make changes like this, there's bound to be some difficult decisions made throughout the process. So that was where the membership would include, again, it's a proposal, Dave. A chair would be a council member, second council member, the vice chair, and then one additional council member, and then a liaison from key departments, and then external stakeholders, i.e. an independent expert on public finance and local government. That way we get some objectivity in the process. So it is, as much as sometimes I think we're pretty good at here separating from the politics of things in this building, it's still helpful when you're talking about reform to bring in some independent eyes to really take a look at it.
That's not etched in stone. Who's on it?
It's not, Dave. This is a proposal, it's a draft, and it kind of puts in action some of those things that I outlined in that proposal that I handed out to all of you, so that we're not just talking about it, but we're putting action behind it. We're developing policies around it. And I think it would be productive for us to reach those goals by the end of 2027 to be able to manage kind of the new way of that government's being funded.
I like government too, much better than the political. I do, but this just sounds like an Elon Musk thing. Government efficiency.
Elon Musk thing was focused on contracts and individual expenditures. This is focused on processes
And departments,
and departments.
cutting departments.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you're gonna meet the goals of SEA 1, it's not gonna stay the same way it is today. So this is not a an Elon Musk thing. It's more focused on overall processes and objectives rather than individual line items, contracts, and expenditures.
In theory, it could be an Elon Musk thing, but it's something we have to do because funding is going to be, whether it's an Elon Musk or not, doesn't matter. It's something that's, we're gonna have issues
But it's
that we
really
have to
totally
figure out.
different than that in its overall focus.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It's not picking out the little individual things. It's focusing on the big picture business model.
Larry, do you recall, what was the name of that study? Maybe you remember, Tom, the Red Book? I think it was done by NiSource or,
We did that. As a group,
Wasn't it within the
No.
university too?
so.
there was, I thought the Times and NIPSCO or somebody did some kind of,
I got a copy.
tell us where we should cut, and what we should do.
Oh, I remember.
Efficiency thing.
Got a
You
copy.
remember that?
I can't remember what it was called. Yeah.
I know, I think I have it in my office.
Isn't it Vernon Shepherd report?
Oh,
Yes, that one, that's what it
I was
was.
gonna say, I'd rather not have the time or NIPSCO telling us where to cut.
Well, I might miss, pay for, it was,
is great at reducing spending.
yeah. Yeah, it was a current. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to either be more efficient, ask departments to be more efficient, which I think is this next budget cycle for 26, we're asking them to stay at the level they're at now. Why give them money and then we have to take it, or we have to raise taxes, and I don't know that any of us will want to raise the income tax or.
we used some of the recommendations from one of the
Yeah.
companies. And I don't think Indiana University said that.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, the overall goal of something like this is so that when we get to that 2028 full implementation, that we're not looking at tax increases. And we're actually funding our services properly to make sure they're fully funded. But doing so in a way that is a little more balanced throughout multiple sources. And it's going to take a lot of work to get there.
I just suggest everybody read over it. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be written as it is currently, and, give it your thoughts. This is not for the next budget cycle, so there's some time to add to it, take a look. Take a look at it. Right. Anything else? Anybody? Good, good.
Stuck.
Okay.
Easier.
Scott, you got anything? No? Hey. Shanna, you got any, Shanna, what is it? Sorry, I know I missed it on your knee. You sent me an email. I don't know if you wanna wait for Tuesday to share the news, but, Tom, you got anything?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Everybody Tuesday?
Everybody Tuesday, God willing.